Good morning, baseball fans, and welcome back to Dan's Vintage Baseball PC. Do not be fooled by that fancy name. It's just me and some friends talking about baseball cards. And yes, I still have the new setup here. And this is my first show with a new webcam. So if you like the lighting a little more, it's better. If you like the widescreen, that's also better. I missed my iPad, but I guess we'll deal with the webcam for a bit if it comes out. We'll see if it comes out. So anyway, also have a microphone, but I haven't set that up yet, so I'm using the microphone and the webcam. But feeling pretty good. Friend today is Brent, who has been on the show twice before. He was on the Tigers show about, I don't know, year and a half ago. And then we did his complete T206 set, which was a great show. So he's back to talk about Kaline. Tiger, Mr. Tiger, Tigers legend, maybe the greatest player in the franchise history. Maybe. We'll talk about that. But let's bring on my guest. Brent, how are you?
I'm doing great. I love the fancy background you have for the fancy show, Dan.
Yeah.
I love
So
that
I
background's
should
great.
mention. Go ahead.
I said that new
I
background is
moved
amazing.
everything into a new section. Yeah, so
Yeah.
I had to put together both of these steel cabinets, and it was not easy. I think I still have cuts on my fingers, but it was ultimately very rewarding. I have pictures before and after. I have pictures of the old room and the new room, so it's
Yeah.
pretty fun. But so yeah, we haven't seen you since the T206 show, which was, I guess, probably, I don't know, maybe September or something. It's been a
I think it
while.
was the
So
fall.
yeah. So I guess I guess the catch up would be, what have you been up to? How's life? And then we'll talk about a little bit about your relationship with Kaline and his cards.
Okay. Life is great. I will say I've recently acquired. There was 4 cards I was hunting last year. I went to the National trying to find 4 cards. I found one at the National and then 2 a little bit later, and I finally got that 4th card this past week, which was an E121 Bobby Veach arms folded. First one saw for sale, picked it up on Net 54, and I'm thrilled to finally get that card.
Awesome. So we've been talking about this Kaline show for a bit, and it's just now it's finally worked out. So tell us a little bit about your Kaline history with him as a collector, and then your particular collection, and what status you've gotten so far on
Okay.
that.
Well, I grew up near Detroit, and so obviously a big Tiger fan. And Kaline was a legend growing up. When I first started watching the Tigers, he was the TV guy. He was the color man with George Kell, and so he's very dear to all Tiger fans. Met him a few times at card shows in the '80s. Went to a few card shows with him signing. I lived in Florida for a little bit in the early '80s and saw him at spring training games. The crazy thing is I got a bunch of autographs when I was younger, and I don't think I have any of those left. Probably traded them or sold them throughout the time. So the few autographs of his I do have, I've acquired in the past probably 10 years or so. And so my
Yeah.
collection, the K lines. At first, I started with just the basic Topps PSA set, and then I started bringing out for the extras. Some of them already had with the team cards, and it just kind of snowballed from there. So right now I'm 75% of the Topps Master set.
75% of the Topps Master set. That's pretty
Mhm.
awesome. So we'll see the full set in its glory, but we're going to break down some stuff first. So let's talk a little bit about Al Kaline himself. Born in Baltimore, and ultimately he was scouted by the Tigers as an 18-year-old and given one of those bonus baby contracts, which in the 50s required him to stay with the with the main club, not go to the minors, or else he became a free
Mhm.
agent. And so he's somebody who played his entire career for one team, not just one franchise, but literally one team. Is that I mean, as sort of Mr. Tiger, he's one of those old sort of like what a guy who plays his entire career for one team, right?
I mean, 100%. Like I said, he's revered in Detroit. When he passed away, it was obviously he was getting up there in age, but it was still it was a big deal.
Yeah.
and he was still active with the club throughout his lifetime.
Yeah, so he comes up in 53, and we'll see the stats a little bit. But one thing that's been very good for Kaline in terms of history is that advanced stats are extremely good to him. So you see the career WAR of 92.7. That's pretty crazy. Of course, the 3,000 hits, the home runs, which always bothered me. 399 career home runs, and then of course all these accolades, the All-Star selections, and the sort of World Series champion, and he was runner-up for MVP twice in his career, and also was in the top 10 in voting multiple times.
Yeah.
So we'll go over to his stats. You can't really see him that well, but it's kind of one of those things where it's like the back of the baseball card at the end of his career kind of thing. You love to see these full stats laid out. And there's a lot of black ink. There's a lot of all-star selections. There's a lot of votes for MVPs. And, of course, again, the 3,007 hits. Do you remember when he got the 3,000th hit?
I don't. I was only 5.
Okay. Well, as I wore the Don Mossy shirt because I figured they were teammates in the 60s.
Love Don Mossy, yep.
Yeah, they were the Tigers teammates in the early 60s. So he was at the end of his career when I started watching baseball, which would be the early 70s. And I do remember seeing him play, although I do not particularly remember the 3,000 hit, which occurred in 74? I guess it would have to be 74. Yeah. I was watching baseball in 74. We should also mention World Series champion in 1968. And I was reading a little bit about this. The Tigers were trailing 3-1, and the historically people always talk about Lolich and the things that he did, the 3 games he won, and the game 1 with Gibson. But there's a game 5, they're down like 5-3 in like the 7th inning or something like this. I'm estimating. And Kaline had a bases loaded hit to drive in a couple runs to give them the lead, I think it was. And so they actually survived game 5 to come back and win in 7. So maybe the biggest hit of his career. I don't know.
I would definitely agree. That would be huge as far as importance. You're right. Their backs were against the wall. That was big. That game is on YouTube, and I've watched it. It's quite amazing. That inning, a few innings there. Yeah. They let Lolich hit. He gets a single that inning, but yeah, Kaline came over with a big hit to score some runs. It was a big deal.
And then again in 72, very end of his career, he's 37 years old. He hasn't played the full season, but he comes into those American League Championship playoff and has a great series, although they lose ultimately game 5 at home to the A's. But it was sort of like his last hurrah. He's in the postseason, and he's doing much better than he had done during the season. So I always like to think about those things for Kaline. Also, had quite a number of serious injuries related to hard play.
He did.
Yeah.
That was a big factor. I mean, obviously they played him as much as they possibly could, but very rarely did he actually get over 150 games, mostly because of injuries. And in 68, I will mention that because that was a big deal at the time. He got injured. They put in Jim Northup to replace him, and the Tigers did well. And he came back. He's like, you don't change anything. But of course, the manager tried to change him. And then for the World Series, they had 4 really great outfielders. They put their center fielder in at shortstop so they could get Kaline into the lineup.
Yeah, well, it didn't hurt that Don Euler, is that his name? Ron Euler? Don Euler?
Roy Euler was the shortstop.
Ray Euler.
Yeah,
Ray
he couldn't hit.
He couldn't hit at all. I mean, he was batting like 160 or something. Yeah. So they put Mickey Stanley did okay at short.
He did very well.
But that got Kaline in the outfield, which, as we know, helped them overcome the 3-1 deficit. So
yes.
So this is a baseball card channel, so we're looking at some baseball cards, and as we generally do, we'll start off with my very modest collection of Kaline cards. That's a 3, but it's a pretty decent 3 on the 56. Nice. I had asked you before we went on camera if you thought that that was Kaline in the action photo. I tried to find the original of that online, but I couldn't. But you think, and I actually agree with you that that is actually Kaline.
Mm-hmm. I think so.
Yeah, and the reason was that I had this thing in my head where there was some card where he's mixed up with Don Demeter, and Topps keeps using this card that's Demeter, or picture that's Demeter. That's actually,
yeah. Demeter was a Tiger later. He didn't.
Right.
64, I think he became Tiger.
Yeah, and so his picture. He was the thin man like Kaline. He looks a little bit like him, so they mixed that one up. But I'm pretty sure that 56, that's him in the background. There's the 64 Giant. 3 cards, 67, 68, 71, all parts of my builds of those sets. And then the 2 high numbers, 70 and 72. I want to talk a little bit about the autograph, because this one is kind of amazing. Pre-COVID, I was doing a lot of TTM in the 70 set, and I went through all the guys who would sign without any pay, and then I started doing the guys later on, probably in late 19, the guys that, like, I think Kaline was $10. So I mailed this out probably late 2019, early 2020, and I know he passed away in April of 2020. Not of COVID, actually. He had apparently a serious stroke. But this card came back to me in the mail, and about 2 or 3 days later, it was announced that he had passed away. And so I thought to myself, this is probably one of the last cards that he ever signed, if not the last card he ever signed. So it's not a happy story, but at least it's a story that makes this autograph card pretty interesting.
That's a great story. I like that.
Now you got a lot. You've got Kaline autographs over the years, right?
Yeah, I did. Yes, I collected quite a few autographs of him over the years. I don't have most of the ones I collected, but in person, but I do still have a few autographs. I picked up a couple along the way.
So let's go to this is your photograph of all the flagship stuff, which goes all the way from the 54 rookie card, card of which I have actually owned at a point in my life. Right. It was a KSA graded 6, and I got it pretty cheap because it was a KSA graded. But I decided I wanted to get it in SGC, and of course, you know what happened. I cracked it out, sent it to SGC, and it came back trimmed. So, yeah, so it went from a 6 to an A, and I had to move it from there. But I will eventually. In fact, I'm sort of slowly working on the 54 top set, so I feel like that's one of those cards that I'll get eventually. And of course, it is a beautiful card with the red. And then he goes through every year from 54 to 74. Anything in particular about these cards that your collection of them that you think is interesting?
I'll talk about the 6 to 54 a little bit later because we're going to see a close up of it.
Right.
The 67 was the first Kaline, not that specific one, but that was the first Kaline I ever acquired. Bought it through the mail. That was back in the day. You send off a money order, and you'd get it in the mail. That was probably 81-ish. So that was probably my first one. It's always kind of dear to me. The 62, I think, is a great one because it has the 61 stats. He had a great year in 61. I do remember that. 59, I acquired one of those. I remember Las Vegas at a card shop back in the early 90s. So, I mean, they all have, to me, kind of special. I don't really have I guess 56 is probably my favorite besides the 54 because I'm kind of a fan of the 56 card.
Yeah.
I'm always disappointed with the 74 because that's kind of this last card with stats, and it's just not a great picture. It's hard to see his face and his hat. But
that was the era when they were doing sort of game shots, and some of them were not so great. Like Willie McCovey popping up in his 73 card.
Yeah,
I think they got some not great. And there's Johnny Bench, and I think it's 73 where he's facing into the dugout. You can barely see him. So, go ahead.
I was going to say I am grateful for the. None of his late 60s cards are impacted by the no hat which was so common, or the complete reuse of pictures. So it's
Yeah,
all
yeah.
his base cards, other than, of course, his portrait in the first 3 years, have all different pictures. They did reuse a few photographs, like the 62 there is the same photograph as the 61 All-Star. But for the most part, he has different photographs. So that is, I'm appreciative of that.
Yeah, no, I mean, in terms of the full complete run of, what is it, 20, 19 cards, 20 cards, whatever, 21, he's pretty well represented. And you said,
Mm-hmm.
he doesn't have any no hats. He doesn't have any blanked out hats because he never played for another team. So that
Mm-hmm.
helps. I
Yep.
think the 74, yeah, is probably not great. 70 is not a great one with the sort of just standing there
Right.
looking off in the distance, but a lot of them are pretty good. So I think he's pretty fairly represented in Topps
Mm-hmm.
cards. And then is the Bowman in here? No, the 55 Bowman. We'll get to that. In fact,
Mm-hmm.
we'll get to it in the next slide right here.
There it is.
So one thing I did notice about these cards is the numbers.
What's
The
that? The
54
grades?
in a 7. That's pretty good.
So that was actually an SGC 7, and I crossed over. Honestly, to me, it's a little off center, but that card, if I had more guts, I'd have cracked it and hoping to get an 8. But nowadays, that'd probably come back a 6. But yeah, that's to me a beautiful copy. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, with the 54s, you always have that issue with the top order.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them, the lettering is practically at the very top, but this one has some space in it, and yeah, left to right, yeah, it's pretty nice, honestly. But honestly, it's such a gorgeous card that
Mm-hmm.
when you get the registration in the color like this, that it's a forever copy, which it's great to see. So I see the 7 on the 55, which is also a
Mm-hmm.
nice card, and then the 55 Bowman in an 8. I don't know
Yeah.
how you did that.
I found, you've been on eBay, you get lucky sometimes. So yeah, I got that one for a decent price on eBay. So I was very happy with that one. Going back to 54 too, I'll also say it's very common for issues right above his that red space under the logo.
Yeah.
Somewhere where the cards were produced, where there'd be like marks from the printing press, whatever, the little black marks. Sometimes you'll see gouges, or I actually owned one before that had a small tear. So you'll see lines along the that red space there, horizontal lines, which are quite common with the K lines.
Yeah. And you might get some snow in that color also, which you
Yes.
don't have here,
Mm-hmm.
which is nice.
Mm-hmm.
So we move on to right. So the concept here in this photograph is that he's got variations in these 3 sets, and I guess he's the only Hall of Famer who has these variations in all 3 sets.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you got the 56 gray back and white back. You got the 58 yellow lettering, white lettering, and then I guess it's the green tint on the 62.
It
I
is
don't
the green
own
tint
any of the.
on the
How do
right
you
side.
recognize the green tint?
So the green tint, if you don't really pick up the color, a lot of times you can tell by the framing. If you see his the bottom of his bat, you see more of it on the regular one and less of it on the green tint.
Right.
Also, his belt is touching the border on the green tint. It's not
I
touching
see
the
that.
border. Yeah, but this one's a little easier to spot. Some of the other green tints are tougher to spot based on the picture.
Yeah. Let's see what we got. Is okay. So 60. Here we are with 62. You got the green tint that you talked about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I see the belt, and then an 8 on the green tint, 7 on the flagship, and then the Venezuelan is sweet. You don't
Mm-hmm.
see numbers like that, 2s on them.
Right. The modern collectors have the rainbows. This is my rainbow.
Well, it is rainbow. It's in one sense because you got the green tint, and then the Venezuela has a different shade to the back, right? Do you
A
have
little bit, yes.
Do you have the card handy?
Right. Yeah. Of course I do. So I will say the 62 is also the first Spanish backing.
Right.
The green tint you wanted, or the Venezuelan?
The Venezuelan back is like
Yeah.
a different shade.
Yeah. Yep. So the paper loss there in the middle, that's why you get the two, because it's
Yeah,
pretty nice.
every
But it does have
Venezuelan has
Spanish,
paper lost.
which I think is pretty cool.
I'm surprised that I guess PSA gave that a two, even though that has the paper loss. I think
Mhm.
SGC is much more forgiving when they're grading the Venezuelans than PSA.
True, but
Yeah,
that's an older registry number. You can tell by
yeah,
not by the numbers so much, by the way the grade is, the two to the next to the good. That's probably a reason nowadays it might have got a one. But I think it presents very well in the front for sure. I mean,
oh yeah, absolutely.
yeah, great centering.
Yeah, and minimal chipping to that
Hmm.
round border, which is tough. So again, he's got a 64 Venezuelan, which is a little bit different color than the 64 tops, which you have in an 8. And the the AL Bombers, I guess that's a little expensive car.
This one is, yeah, with I do like the 64 Venice. I should have put the back because you have the black border with the 64s, which I think is kind of neat.
Let me give you solo on that.
Yeah,
Right. Yeah.
yeah. So obviously you
I,
can see I got the eBay certified, so I paid at least 250 for it.
right.
uh, but yeah, these I just think it's kind of a
Well,
cool the 64 Venezuelans with the black borders versus the
right.
I don't know, that pinkish.
And I think it's in English, right? The 64s are in English.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think only the 62 has Spanish.
62 is Spanish, right?
Hmm.
Um, so let's see, and we move on. Okay, so I guess one of the things that I think you find to be kind of, I guess, funny in some ways, but annoying in other ways, is this whole concept of Kaline becoming the youngest batting champion. Tops went to that well maybe a few extra times
They
than they
did.
should have. So
Um, the, go ahead.
go ahead. The top card is 59, I guess.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah. That was my first 50s K-line I ever owned. Not that specific copy, but that was my first 50s era. Was because that was pretty cheap back in the early 80s. I could get that as a young kid.
yeah. Those cards
Hmm.
don't go as high as the flagships, but the bottom is the greatest moments, which is a tough set to get cards in.
Hmm.
And that one you got in a 5. Damn, nice job. Because you got the black border on this, like the
Yeah,
regular
it's tough.
71s.
Yeah.
I know that I have tried to purchase cards from this set, in particular the Thurman Munson card, and it's really exceedingly expensive. I'm not
So
sure.
you were a collector in that time frame. Do you know how those were packaged? Were they
I,
individual
I
by themselves?
I collected 71 like crazy. I remember the coins and I remember the scratch offs and all the other nonsense, but I did not ever see these cards. I'm not sure that they were even available in the New York market. I grew up on Long Island, so
Okay.
I never saw them until like the last 5 years. To be honest with you, I mean it's like that with some sets that you
Right.
just never saw. A lot of the tops issues, like the '69 supers, I never saw those.
Right.
Um, so, but I did collect the 70 and 71 supers, but yeah, never saw these
Okay.
greatest moments. I'd have to do some research into them, but it's possible they weren't even available in the New York market. Um, so yeah, there we go. He's got the 64, which I have here is
Hmm.
the back. It's like he wins the AL youngest to win AL batting title. Oh, it doesn't say youngest on there, but that was the only
It
batting
does in the
title.
top. It does the red above that and the black, the
Oh,
white
youngest
lettering.
batting champ. Oh yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
And then I guess it's the 60. All the back looks like a 60,
60
the
All
upper left.
Star.
Yeah,
Hmm.
and then the bottom is a 59 back.
Right.
Yeah,
I,
and then yeah, go ahead.
yeah. To me, I mean, he did more than just win a batting title at a young age. Gold Gloves. Um,
Yeah,
for the 71, they could include it as big hit in the World Series. So, but it is what it
yeah,
is.
yeah. By 71, what he did in 1955 is sort of old news. I mean,
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah, I mean he had a tremendous year in '61. I think he finished third in the MVP voting, but second. But there's another year he finished second, and then
Yeah,
he
55 actually. Yeah, finished second in 55 and in 63.
63. Okay,
Yeah.
and then obviously the world champion um, in '68, and just I don't know. But yeah, you're right. I mean, the Tops really went to this well quite a number of times.
Hmm.
So we have some cool sort of post playing days. Well, the Scoops is not post playing days,
Right.
but the others generally are.
Yeah, I include these. These are little oddball cards. Not really oddball as far as the tops, the bottom ones, but to me, it's always people always like want to collect certain players, but these are cheap ways to get the star players, especially the scoops. That's a playing era card, autograph. There, it's not too tough to get these cards, so I always like to include them. And I think they're kind of neat. The top right kind of mimics the 53 Bowman.
Yeah, and he never had a 75. Well, he doesn't have a 75 flagship card, but he does
Right,
have the leader card 75,
the
or the lead
highlights card.
highlight card.
Hmm.
But yeah, that 75 would have been a nice one to give him a full, recap.
Got to see those 3,000 hits in the stat column.
Yeah, yeah. So, and then the autograph in the bottom left. I agree with you. I like these Sports Illustrated. It's 2001
Fleer.
Fleer, and it's all different kinds of players and stuff, but they're all the small image. It's a regular size card, so it's not
Hmm.
like the size of a Sports Illustrated. So it's kind of a condensed version of that cover with a legitimate autograph. And so, like, those are pretty cool cards. And I know I bought one recently for a non-Hall of Famer that cost me about $20. Um,
Really? 'Cause I think I paid
yeah,
probably 30 or under, just under 30 for that card.
yeah, yeah. So you can get these, and
Hmm.
I should start looking for more of them. So anyway, and then the backs, which are cool because you got the 75 back. Tops took them a while to get him onto a 75 card, but there he is what do they call it? A Tops
Capstone. Yep.
capstone, right?
Yep.
Let's see. Yeah, and then this is the this is the what I like to call the money shot. So you're you're all PSA on these, so that puts you in the registry.
I am.
Yeah, and you're what ranking are you in the registry?
I am sixth with 75%. My
Right.
grade average is about a little over six is as far as the grade. The Venezuelans obviously bring them down because it's tough to get those high.
Yeah.
Um, I don't think I'll reach the fifth. That person has, I think, about 80 some percent, and their grade is high six. So I don't know if I'll actually be able to eclipse them unless they start selling their sets.
So I mean, I
But
can
six is
see
a
a lot
good
of
spot to be.
yeah.
He's number six, so it's good to be number six for number six.
Oh yeah, that's there you go. So don't buy any more Kaline. Don't upgrade unless the
Yeah,
person behind you is catching up.
yeah.
So there's some cool stuff in here. We can see tiny little. Uh, there's the 55 doubleheader in the bottom left corner,
Hmm.
which is a card I don't own, although I'm building that set. It's a nice one. And then you got there's some scratch offs in there. There's I thought it was a 69 Super, but it's a 71 Super.
71. Hmm.
Yeah, and then some other cool bits in here. There's two 67s in there. Is one of them a Venezuelan?
It is. It
Yeah,
is.
it's a little
What
different shade you can see.
mm,
And then you got all the team cards and the variations, and yeah. So this is what it looks like when you get your number 6 ranking in the K line.
yeah.
So there you go. All right, my friends. So thank you for coming on again. It's always nice to check in, and I'd like to check in again. Hopefully at the National this year. Are you going?
I don't know. I'm actually heading to Chicago tomorrow morning to catch some baseball games. So I'm going to go
Oh,
see a
there you go.
Cubs game.
Okay.
And Tigers are playing the White Sox Monday, so I'll be at that game. So I don't know.
All right. Well, if I do see you there, I'll check in and see if
Most
you can
definitely. Hopefully
show
the
us some.
cell service will be better. Last year there's no cell service.
Yeah. I was at the end of the show. I guess it was Saturday late because I didn't go on Sunday. Saturday late, I was buying my last card and I didn't have any cash left, so I was trying to PayPal, and I had to go to like I said to the guy, "Just hold the card. Just hold the card. I'm going to pay you, but I can't pay you right now. So I'm like walking around the facility. I'm trying to get service. I ended up all the way out in one end. I paid for the car. I came back, and the guy's like, "Okay, I got it." So it's like really annoying.
It was rough.
Yeah, it's this year is I have not been to a Chicago National, so this
All
would be
right.
my first Chicago National. We're staying across the street at the Crown Plaza in a suite with about 5 guys, so it should be like a frat house again. And then walking over I'm coming in Tuesday afternoon and leaving Sunday afternoon, so it's going to be a long week. So
Oh yeah.
I do hope to see you there if you do decide to go. Otherwise, let's stay in touch because
Well, you're in New York, aren't you?
yes,
How close to Yankees are you? Ballpark.
it's about a 30-minute subway ride.
Okay, because I need to go there. Maybe we can go catch a Yankee game.
That sounds like a plan. I haven't been to the Yankee game since my sons grew up and moved out, so I
Really?
don't I don't see him as much. But I used to take my sons to the games, and
The new
I'm
ballpark?
also yeah, I've been to the new ballpark several
Okay.
times. I think the last game I went to was a playoff game in 2016. I think it was.
Okay.
When they played the Astros. They won Game 5 at home to go up 3-2 in the series, and then they lost both games in Houston. But I was with my son for that. That was cool. But City Field is also not that far from me. It's like a 40-minute train ride on the
Okay. I've been to
720.
that one though. I've been to
Yeah.
City Field. Yeah,
Well, if
it's
you
a
come
great.
to New York, you have my text. Let me know.
I do.
Would love to
Yep.
go to a Yankee game.
All right.
So, all right, Brett, thank you very much. Viewers, next week we have a show which will be a revisit of Johnny Mize, since I have a very big Johnny Mize collector, and I will also show all the cards I've added since I did my Johnny Mize show in, I don't know, July of 2024, so almost 2 years ago. So that's going to be fun. And then after that, I'm going to do my 54 Red Heart set, and of course, all the 4 collector stuff. I will be live on 4 Collectors tomorrow night, Sunday night, talking about set building and the 1967 set in particular. So viewers, check me out on 4 Collectors, or come back here next week on Saturday. Brett, take it easy. Viewers, we'll see you next week.
All right.